calls her children forth, a waiting world to win. Earth's noblest breed, true men of worth, her ranks shall enter in. Then comrades all prepare that we
GPO. Here to launch a book, Matthew's book on the Citizens' Army. Did you ever think you'd be in the GPO launching a book on the Citizen Army?
No, I didn't actually. It's wonderful to be able to launch a book in the very place where the most dramatic and important chapter in the book actually took place. I mean, that's very unusual. And so you do get, it's not just a book about history which has been launched, there's the sense of history around the building.
Years old, and she'd been promised a trip to Bray on the train. And it was all called off when a neighbour ran into the house and said, Mrs. Byrne, you can't go anywhere. There's a lunatic down on O'Connell Street and he just read a thing called the Proclamation and they're shooting at people. And she cried for days because she didn't get to go on the train to Bray.
I loved the bit about how to evacuate the GPO through Henry Street. But of course, it was never given in the history which was passed down to me and my family, sort of living in the Bogside in Derry. 1913 didn't have the centrality which it ought to have. And yet, it seems to me that you can't understand the society that emerged from 1916 and the War of Independence. You can't understand the Free State, to give it its a designated name at the time. You can't understand that without studying 1913, without trying to understand, how, as I would phrase it, at the risk of annoying some people, the ideological defeat of Connellyism, of Larkinism, by the forces of nationalism in Ireland. Yet, the Free State was a cradled Catholic. It was born as a pious, conservative, Catholic country. It seems to me that it's not possible to understand that without understanding 1913 and the Citizen Army, understanding its strengths and its triumphs, but also its weaknesses and its tragedy. And that all comes through in Anne's book, and all the more eloquently and all the more vividly, because she writes from the bottom up. She writes about the people on the ground. This is not a book about leaders. It's a book about the mass of the people.
The Irish Citizen Army has its roots in the lockout, and in my work I've used primary source material to unearth the untold story of the rank and file as well as its leaders. Tonight there is a man here called John, or Sean Byrne, and he's sitting just down here, and his father was involved in the Citizen Army from 1914. He was involved with Sean O'Casey out in Dunleary when they were recruiting membership. He is the man who put the Citizen Army flag on the Imperial Hotel. He was involved as an individual in various aspects of the War of Independence and of the Civil War, and then he became president of the the Irish Citizen Army Old Comrades Association, and his is an amazing story.
When we say it couldn't happen again, I think that's wrong. It could happen again. We know that because it happened before.
The other issue, I have restored Sean O'Casey to his place in the army. And I've established that when he said the ICA flag was blue and red, he was correct. The ICA colours before Connolly's time were blue and red. When they were out marching, the officers wore red armbands and the rank and file wore blue until they had uniforms. O'Casey did not see the green flag because the green flag was Connolly's design and it was created by Connolly apparently in the week or two before the rising.
Because there are always impossible dopes, keeping a hold of impossible hopes. Impossible things are happening every day.
I know my brother Sean is here in spirit, and I would like you, if you have a glass in your hand, to raise it in his memory. If you don't, just remember Sean. Thank you very much.
And drive our foes like clouds before